Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Painless Universal, a conversation with myself and Welsh. Today's topic, some people might find very sensitive because we're talking about the female genital mutilation, FGM. So in case you hear us say FGM throughout the conversation, that is what it stands for. It stands for the female genital mutilation. It's still a taboo subject in places that are suffering from it, such as in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. It's been noticed that even as far as Egypt went on to put tougher penalties on people who go about and practice this, who are still practicing this issue. Mutilation is a very serious thing, and it affects women. It affects their mental states. It affects their ability to go on and become women like other women, to feel themselves and to feel empowered. My guest today, MarieClaire, is an advocate. She's a 38-year-old lady who lives in France. Not only is she an advocate, but she's a survivor of the process. She'll be talking about the challenges this caused her and why she felt it was important that she started speaking up and to help the other women who are going through the process. She will also be talking about the difficulties the pandemic has caused that has slowed this process down. She has a foundation which is working very, very vigilant to help these women who are going through these difficult challenges. In case of you, for those of you who don't know what this FGM is, the female genital mutilation again, it involves the partial removal or total removal of external genitals. The WHO has estimated that over 200 women around the world, especially in parts of Africa, Asia, and Middle East, has gone through this process. And they have found no health benefits from those girls who have undergone this process. What's even more concerning is that women who have gone through this process are now affected in their marriages or in their relationship. Our guest mother, MarieClaire, was against this, but the family took it on themselves to go ahead with the process at 9 years old. I'm so excited to have this conversation to enlighten other people out there, or anyone who might be thinking of doing it but not sure why. But why now more than ever they should reconsider and not do that to their young child. Meet our guest today, MarieClaire, as we talk about the work our foundation is doing to educate, enlighten, remove stigma, and help other women, and also about her own journey of going through FGM. Meet MarieClaire. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Painless Universal Conversation with myself and Welsh. As I said in my intro, today we'll be talking about a very critical subject, something so many people don't know about, especially if you live in the Western world. There's so many women in Africa, Middle East, and some part of Asia have to deal with genital mutilation. Our guest today, MarieClaire, how are you today?
I'm very good. Good morning, and thank you for inviting me.
Okay, thank you. I guess today MarieClaire should be talking to us about this critical issue of someone who's experienced it herself. How, I looked at your profile, read your story, which I'm so delighted we'll be sharing with others today. Your story is very powerful, and you are now using your message of what's happened to you to inspire others and help people to understand the dangers of genital mutilation. Now, before we get into all of that, can you tell us a little bit about who is MarieClaire?
Oh, a great question. MarieClaire is an Ivorian woman. I was born in Ivory Coast, where I grew up. Today, I have 38-year-old. Yes, I'm a happy mother of a boy who is 12-year-old, and I'm living with a wonderful woman. Okay, I'm an optimist person. In life, I'm always seeing the best way, the best side of all things I live. I don't know if it's clear.
Very clear. I love what you said. You're an optimistic person. And I think that is such a positive thing because so many people are so negative. No matter what happens to them, they can't see the beautiful, why it happened and what take the good out of it. All they take is the negative side. So I love you that you're an optimistic person. Let's go to your journey when you were a little girl. And your journey of that growing up, what was it like growing up? Where did you grow up? Did you grow up? Have you always lived in, because I know you live in Paris right now. Have you always lived in Paris or France? And what was it like growing up as a child? And when did you discover the genital mutilation was going to take place?
Okay. So when I was a small girl, I grew up with my maternal grandparents in a region of Ivory Coast where female genital mutilation is a common practice. Yes, all the girls were mutilated in the region where I grew up. And my mother was against FGM. So I was supposed to be immune of the danger of this practice. Unfortunately, when I was 9 years old, I went on vacation on my father's family. And one day, my paternal aunt, took me for a party, which I thought was a real party. When I arrived in that place, there were several girls lined up in front of a door, and they placed me in the line with the girls. When my turn arrived, I entered in the door. There were 4 women inside. I did not get the time to realize that they slammed me on the ground, and one of them cut me my clitoris. At that time, I did not know that the name of the part of my body that they cut were clitoris, And my cutting was followed by a silence because this subject is very taboo. So nobody had explained me what they done to me,
Yes.
So I continue my life like this till I finish my secondary schools. And because of the war, I had to move from Ivory Coast to Senegal. In Senegal, I lived there for 2 years and I met my ex-husband, who was a Frenchman. And in 27, we moved from Senegal to Marseille in France, where I lived for 9 years. But this marriage was very difficult because I was very sad because of FGM, I will explain you. When I was in Ivory Coast, when I was 19 years old, I met an Italian man. And the first time we had intimacy, he asked me, where is your clitoris? He was very aggressive with me, He said me that you don't have a clitoris, you are not a real woman, you will never have a real sexual life, so your life will be very difficult.
Was that when you realized? Was this when you realized you had a problem, that you were different?
Yes. And after the discussion, he stopped our relation because he told me that I cannot stay with a mutilated woman. So it was very difficult for me. Because of this man, I developed an inferiority complex. I developed a lack of self-confidence, And each day I was thinking about the part of my body that they cut. Yeah. And I was searching for this part of my body, you know. Each time when I look at my body, I seems to be like a half of person, you know.
Yes, yeah.
So it was very difficult for me during several years. And when I came to Marseille, I tried to be happy, but it was difficult. When people met me, they was happy to meet me because I like laughing, I like jogging, but in my mind, in my heart, I was very, very sad, you know. Yeah. So one day I decided to divorce because it was very important for me to take care from me and to reconstruct myself.
Find yourself, absolutely. You know, I just have to pause you there because I need to ask you a question. When you were married, before you met the Italian guy, when you were married, what did your husband say? Did he say anything about it, or was he fine with it? I presume he was from Africa, so Africa was probably.
When I met my husband, we did not talk about my mutilation, you know, because it was difficult for me to talk about that, and he did not ask me. So we stayed together, and 3 years ago, our marriage, one day I asked him, do you know that I'm mutilated? He said, no, I noticed that your body was different, but I did not think that you are mutilated. I say, yes, I'm mutilated. Is it a problem for you? He said, no, it is not your fault if you have been mutilated. I can help you. If you need it, we can try to find a solution and you will have a surgery.
Yeah. And what solution did you find to kind of give you more confidence and, you know, even your mental state? What solution did you find to deal with the issue?
So when I divorced, I moved from Marseille to Bordeaux in the south of France. Mm-hmm. And one day I went on vacation in Senegal. It was in 26, you know, and I met a man who was very cute, and he loved me too much, you know. And I was not happy because in my mind, I thought that if he loved me like this, is because he don't know that I'm mutilated, you know. So in my mind, I think that I don't deserve this kind of love. It is too much for me, you know. So I refused to have a relationship with him. And later, I was thinking, it is not possible to live like this, You have to stop it. You have to reconstruct yourself. So I decided to have a genital reconstructive surgery, you know. So when I came back to France, I called a doctor in Paris, and the 7th of December the 7th of 2016, I had the genital reconstructive surgery, and it is my second date of birth because my life had changed, you know.
Oh, congratulations. And have you noticed a difference since you've had the surgery from previous? Or do you feel more confident, and how have you been since you've had this surgery?
Yes, now I have more self-confidence. I know that I'm a real woman. I know that I deserve to be happy. I deserve to be loved by a man. Yeah. And now I'm living my best love story with a man who is extraordinary, you know.
Yes, no, it's so fascinating because, you know, before this conversation, I've heard of this genital mutilation, but I never really understood what it truly meant. Could you go back to when your mother found out you did this procedure? Can you remember how did she take it? Because she's always protected you and didn't want you to proceed with having this surgery. I mean, this procedure. When your mom found out, how did she take it?
She was crying. My mother was crying because she was strongly fighting against FGM. She had also been mutilated, you know, so she was crying. She was crying because she knew that this practice will change my life, you know.
Yes.
So she was very sad. Yeah. But because of the taboo, we had never spoken about that, never.
Wow. And you have gone on, you've learned your lesson, you've seen the challenges this FGM have brought to yourself personally. So you decided that enough is enough. You want to go out and help other people. How have you done that? How have you been able to become an advocate for others who are going through this difficult challenge of FGM?
When I reconstruct myself and I decided to fight against this practice, because I say that if I undergone FGM, there is a reason, you know, there's a reason, and this reason is, I think that my long life mission is to raise campaign against this practice, is to give hope to the survivors, to tell them that you are more than what you undergone, okay? So you can be a wonderful woman. You can build a very good life, and you deserve to be happy, you know. So I created my organization to raise awareness against female genital mutilation and other types of violence against girls and women in France, but also in Africa, where I was born, to support the survivor in the global reconstruction, and to empower women in France, but also in Africa, even in the villages.
And how is that going? Because you said there's a taboo about talking about it. How is that going? How are people taking on to when you tell, especially people in Africa, where you're from, Cote d'Ivoire, how are they taking it when you bring up the subject so openly?
Sometimes they can be surprised because it is very taboo, you know, but I'm trying to speak about these subjects positively, you know. When, you know, in 2 weeks, I will go to Africa for 15 days to make awareness and mentoring and conference about FGM, you know. And I'm trying, I avoid to judge the culture, the traditions. That is very important, because yes, it is a violence, but don't forget that it is a tradition. It is a tradition. The mother, the aunt of the grandmother would take them girls, their daughters, to MGM, some are forced to do that, you know, because in that cultures, men want to get married with mutilated women, you know.
Yes.
So to make awareness against FGM, it is very important to speak about the consequences in the life of the woman, the consequences, the bad consequences in their life, in their health. That is very important to speak about that. But don't, it is very important to avoid to judge the culture, because it is a culture. So to stop this practice, it is very important to educate people. You know, education is very important. Women empowerment is very important also to eradicate FGM.
That's
so, yes.
Now, I like that. I like what you just said about, because so many organizations, so many charitable organizations always think, okay, we've raised the funding, we're just going to go there and implement our own policies. But what you understand and what makes you very unique, one, you are a victim of this who survived that. Another thing, you also understand the tradition of the place, that you can't just come there with your own authority saying, I want to fix it. I want it, this must be done, this must be done. But you must understand and be sensitive to those culture aspects of the country, the people, the villages, and know how to word your thing that they will understand and kind of start getting emotional towards you. I love that, what you said. So, so that I'm presuming that is going well. I'm sure.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Go on.
Yes, because it is very important to complete what I said before. It is very important to build a project with the villages, with the community, a common project, you know, and that is very important to build the project and make awareness with people, with communities, with villages, and that is how we can one day eradicate FGM.
That's very true. And with COVID, right, the effect of the COVID pandemic and has taken a limelight away from all these critical issues, because everyone you talk to now is focusing on how do we eradicate the pandemic that coronavirus has brought us. How have you managed to still keep the issue of FGM alive in spite of the pandemic COVID has brought on?
Sorry, I don't understand. How did I?
No, you know, the coronavirus has brought on so much, all right? And so many countries are focusing their efforts on dealing with the pandemic. And this is taken away from critical other issues that are still going on. And your work, you've been working very hard for many years to try and put a spotlight and be an advocate to make people aware of the issues of the FGM. How have you managed to still continue your work in spite of the pandemic?
So during this difficult period of coronavirus, I try to continue my job in Africa, my advocacy in Africa, with people who are living there, and they continue going to meet the communities and continue awareness against FGM. But I cannot, when the pandemic starts, I stopped going in Africa, and I will go back next week, you know.
Yes.
But in France, I continue my advocacy, organizing webinar conferences by Zoom to continue to work, because it is very important to continue raising awareness against FGM. And in France, I continue also supporting survivors. So next year on September, I open the first regional care unit for the global support of girls and women who undergo FGM, you know. So I'm working now with 25 professionals to bring care to the survivors. There are doctors, surgeons, nurses, midwives, psychologists, yoga teacher, sexotherapists, social workers. Women can reconstruct themselves psychologically, physically, take the power on their sexuality, on their body, and on their life too.
Yes.
and to insert themselves socially and professionally,
That's amazing.
So I'm very happy from that because it is a very good, and the care for the women are free. They don't have to pay for that. Even they don't have insurance, health insurance, they can benefit of that.
Yeah.
And we have many women from Africa, but also from Albania, from Azerbaijan, and we have also women who are refugees in Europe because of the violence in the country. They had to go to protect themselves or to protect the girls against FGM.
Yes, yes. No, that's truly amazing. I'm so proud of your work, MarieClaire. But the final question is that I think a few months ago, Egyptian Parliament approved tougher penalties for female genital mutilation, right? In your own hope, what is your hope for the future for FGM?
My hope for FGM, it is to create an international campaign against FGM, because this subject is still very taboo in many countries, and the pandemic is catastrophic for FGM because of the closure of schools around the world. Many girls have been mutilated or married by force. So it is very important to make, how to say, it is very important to empower the fight against FGM. It is very important to start now. All the countries have to be connected, All the countries where FGM is a common practice have to connect, have to decide together some measures to stop FGM. And it is very important to educate women, girls, to educate girls all around the world, even in the village, because it is by education and by empowering women that we can stop this practice. It is very important. So my dreams is to live in a world where FGM will be part of the past.
Yes, yes, I agree. I really wish that as well, because I mean, so many girls are suffering, and it's very painful as well to go through that process at such a tender age as you went through at 9. MarieClaire, thank you so much. You're a survivor of the FGM, and I'm so glad you are doing well and you're using your voice to speak up for so many people who are currently going through it, and to also help them, those who have gone through it, to tell them how they could still survive and find their joy. I'm so proud and I'm so honored to talk to you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, and thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much for your work. It is very important to inspire people, because life is wonderful, and we can be happy even we live some difficult circumstances, because we have in ourselves the energy, we have in ourselves the resources to be happy all the time. This is important. We are all human beings in this world are extraordinary. We can make extraordinary things. And there is a writer, a former writer in France, Jean-Paul Sartre.
Yeah.
He said, what we live doesn't matter, because we can do what we want. So the most important is what we do from what happened to us.
Yes.
That is very important.
I love that. Whatever your challenges are, whatever your challenges, don't dwell on the negative of your challenges, but what is important is how you find your purpose, your meaning, your
Yes.
joy from
Yeah.
your pain. I love
Yes.
that. Thank you so much. Looking forward. Thank you so much, MarieClaire.
Thank you.